Hey guys, good morning. Today is Module 1, Day 16. We've got just 2 more lessons for this unit, and then we'll be preparing for a quiz and a test. We're going to have a quiz. If you're here, we'll have it in class. If you're at home, you'll do an online quiz on Thursday, 8/27, and then our test over Module 1, which will be the 1st of September, next Tuesday. Okay? All right. Trig functions for any angle. So we have talked about finding the values for all the trigonometric functions in all those special angles of the unit circle, but what about those angles that are not in a unit circle? So basically it's going to give us a coordinate point, and we're going to graph that coordinate point. We're going to create a right triangle, and then we're going to find all 6 trigonometric values. Again, this falls under the command evaluate. If I can spell it right. Evaluate. All right, so first and foremost, I'm going to sketch a graph and plot that point. 1, 2, 3 in the negative, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive. And then I'm going to sketch this distance from the origin to that point. I always want to use the triangle that sits next to or on the x-axis here. Again, this is called my reference angle. This horizontal distance is -3 and the vertical distance is +4. And I can always find that hypotenuse by using Pythagorean theorem, 4 squared plus 3 squared. Now, I don't take into account these negatives because that just represents a direction. So when I use Pythagorean theorem, I don't even bother with those signs. So that's going to be the square root of 25, which is 5. So my hypotenuse here is 5. So now I just have to set up my trig values. So I have the sine of theta, the cosine of theta, the tangent of theta, and then I have the cosecant of theta, the secant of theta, and the cotangent of theta. Now the negative is important because anytime we use that adjacent, we have to say -3 because it is in quadrant 2. So the sine here is going to be the opposite, which is 4, over the hypotenuse, which is 5. The cosecant is the reciprocal. The cosine is going to be the adjacent, which is -3, over the hypotenuse, which is 5. And the secant is the reciprocal of that one. Keeps the same sign, meaning it's negative also. And then for my tangent, it will be opposite over adjacent, so -4 over 3, and my cotangent is the reciprocal of that. Okay, so let's look at another example here. So maybe we say, let's do a -3, -2. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to graph it. -3 is my x and -2 is my y. So right here is my triangle. And so I have to find the hypotenuse. That's the square root of 3 squared plus 2 squared, which is 9 plus 4, which is the square root of 13. So the square root of 13 is my hypotenuse. Okay, so now I need the sine, the cosine, and the tangent, the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent. So my theta is right here. I don't know if you can see that. I made it really super tiny, but it's right there. And this is that point, -3, -2, right here. Okay, so this is my angle, opposite is -2, and my hypotenuse is the square root of 13, so it's -2 over the square root of 13, which we know we must rationalize that. So negative 2 square roots of 13 over 13. And the reciprocal right here, I can look at this ratio and just say negative square root of 13 over 2. For my cosine, it's the adjacent or my x values, so that would be a negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and rationalize it. And then this would be negative square roots of 13 over 3. And then my tangent here, it will be the opposite over the adjacent, which is a negative 2 over negative 3, which becomes a positive 2/3. And my cotangent would be the reciprocal of that. So first of all, you just want to plot your point. You want to create a triangle that is attached to the x-axis here. Attached to the x-axis. Let's say I choose the point 5 and negative 10. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to graph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right somewhere down here. So again, I draw the triangle, I draw that hypotenuse, and then I draw the triangle with the base of it on the x-axis, okay? And then you could evaluate as such. So my x will be 5, my y will be negative 10, and then I'll solve for that triangle. Okay, next is we're given these clues. So you're going to be given the ratios. We did this the other day just a little bit. So it gives us that our sine of theta is going to be negative 2/3. It also tells me right here that tangent is positive. So this gives me a clue as to what quadrant it's in. So when sine value is negative, that means it's all in the bottom part. That means my y value is negative. And for tangent to be positive, then it has to be either a negative y over a negative x or a positive y over a positive x. So that my result is a positive y over x. So that leaves us with quadrant 3 here. Quadrant 3. Now, sine being negative 2/3, this is going to be my opposite, and this will be my hypotenuse. So here's my angle. Okay, opposite will be negative 2, and my hypotenuse will be 3. And now I just have to figure out what this is. So here's my angle. Again, I always want to draw the triangle with the base of it on the x-axis. That is so important. This is my reference angle. So I need the legs, so I'm going to take the square root of 3 squared minus 2 squared. So that's 9 minus 4 and leaves me with the square root of 5. So keep in mind this is also a negative x value. So I need to make sure that I put a negative x value. Okay, so cosecant here is going to be the reciprocal, which is negative 3/2. Cosine is going to be negative square roots of 5 over 3. And so the secant will be the reciprocal of that, which would be negative 3 square roots of 5 over 5. Now, I've already rationalized that denominator in my head. All right, tangent of theta will be opposite over adjacent, so that would be negative 2 over the square root of 5 negative. So that's going to be a positive 2 square roots of 5 over 5. And the cotangent would be the reciprocal of this right here. So that's the square root of 5 over 2. Okay, so I use my clues. It's going to give me a ratio. I'm going to set up my O, A, and H. And then it also tells me what quadrant to look for using those clues. Okay, so you have some practice out of the book. It's going to be page 289, 11 through 34. You can focus on odds first so that you can check your answers, and then you can go back and do the evens. And that's it for today, guys.